Rockpool.com. Relive the music.
So who was the craziest rock star that you had to deal with?
Well, you know, there are crazy people who harm other people, and there are crazy people who only harm themselves. So I would honor those that only harm themselves as they try to find out their own balance. There may be Ozzy Osbourne. I had 4 affairs with him that were crazy. The first one was when he bit the dove and spit it in the girl's lap. This was at CBS. He did not want to go to CBS. It's a long story. And the long story, to shorten it, was it's 1979. We're in the United States. In this era, heavy metal was history. Now, more importantly, the rest of the world, which the United States doesn't look at, loved heavy metal. You had Def Leppard going, you had the Scorpions going, you had Rainbow, Deep Purple. This was all shit that was not selling in the record business as owned and controlled by the banks coming in. And you had Polygram and Phonogram combining, Polydor and Phonogram, coming into the United States to get back in there. Warner Brothers was the only label that put out heavy metals. They had Deep Purple and they had Black Sabbath. So Black Sabbath came to me because I was Don Arden's LA representative. They were upset that they weren't selling anymore in the United States on Warner Brothers. They were upset this was finished business, and they wanted Don Arden's new hitman, being my father and I, but more specifically me with my dad behind me, so you could have the general and the new, I guess, you know, Custard's last stand, the new General Custard. I didn't give a shit. I just didn't. I figured, okay, I'm here to play out whatever fantasy I have, and then I'll learn my lesson. So I fired Warner Brothers, and I assumed this will be easy. I'll go get the Black Sabbath a deal. One problem: I only had the rights to the United States and Canada. Phonogram had the rights overseas. I couldn't get him a deal. And then what happened was there's a record label called Capitol, which was married to EMI, and EMI started happening with heavy metal. They had Iron Maiden, so they needed more heavy metal. Now you have to understand the deal that Jet Records had, which we negotiated. Jet Records with CBS was 3-pronged. There was the United States and Canada, where CBS had to say yes or no to everything. Then there was the rest of the world, other than the United States, Canada, and the UK, including Ireland, no matter what the Irish say. That was deal 2, and then the rest of the world became deal 3. But in deal 2, anything we wanted came out. So the Blizzard of Oz is what was formed when Black Sabbath fired us because we couldn't get him a deal, and threw Ozzy out at the same time. They go back to Warner Brothers, they re-sign with Warner Brothers, they hire Ronnie Dio to become the singer, and see ya, Ozzy. Don Arden is insane. Sharon had nothing to do with this. This was Don and his little problem with the management of Black Sabbath, Patrick Meehan, who he was partners with. Don was going to prove that he could do this, and they put together a group called the Blizzard of Oz. That was the name of the band. It was a team. There were 4. There were 4 members: Lee Kerslake, Bob Daisley, Randy Rhoads, and Ozzy. They put this together. They get the record out in the United Kingdom, album 1, and then I think it was called the Blizzard of Oz, and then they recorded album 2 because Don didn't know what to do. At the same time, I'm trying to get them a deal. I can't get him a deal. And then all of a sudden, Rupert Perry calls me up. And he says to me, I'll take that band. I'm like, great. So I go to make a deal with him, and we live in a small world. I go to make a deal with Capitol. They got initial orders of maybe 50,000 units, because now it's 1981. And the disco era is sort of waning, and because what we did with Vietnam, when I told you we lost interest in heavy metal. We needed to live in denial. So we created disco. And it wasn't the same as the European disco. Oz was just boom, 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 where the European disco was, you know, like Alex Constantinos or my friend Cerrone or Giorgio Moroder. The US disco was just boom, 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 disco and blow. That was our whole world. But by 81, you know, kids were growing up who weren't part of my generation, and they were going back to heavy metal. Heavy metal was a protest of the way things were. So, you know, maybe things were going to start changing. And Rupert, Iron Maiden was doing well. Def Leppard had come over. Scorpions were coming in. Aerosmith was about to get a rebirth. They're not heavy metal, but they're heavier than not heavy. And hip hop was coming in, another protest music. So Rupert Perry tries to sign the band. I make a deal with him, and my word is as good as my word. My handshake. And now Walter Yetnikoff at CBS goes bonkers, because we will not embarrass him, because Jet Records US was hemorrhaging money. He did everything he could do to stop that hemorrhaging, and he didn't want to be made a fool of. So what we did is, my father and Don and I was partners in this, because I really got off in this whole thing, being the revolutionary, and I'm negotiating this and I'm negotiating that. I'm fucking with the establishment. So here you got the Blizzard of Oz, which is 4 people. And so out of the 4, I then get told that I have to make this deal. And what happened was, behind the scenes, which we all knew, Yetnikoff gave Don other money to keep Chet afloat, and me just being who and what I am, I said to him, okay, since I'm personally involved, and I was the businessman, I'll tell you what, this has to be a separate contract. So we create a company called Princess Productions. We make a separate deal, and we put it through Princess Productions. And what happens is I have to negotiate the contract. Now, the other 3 guys in Blizzard of Oz had lawyers, and I never signed them to their Jet Record contract. They were just floating. And you had people in the UK giving them contracts, and you had me, allegedly in control, but absolutely out of control, with my set of contracts. The contracts were never signed. So I'm sitting with the head of CBS West Coast, and they said, okay, let's do the deal. Princess Productions, okay, what is the Blizzard of Oz? So I say to them, Ozzy Osbourne. They go, what? I said, it's Ozzy. Well, it's a band. I said, it's Ozzy. Why did I say that? Because I didn't want to negotiate with the other 3. It became easier. Ozzy's deliverable. He's with the Ardens. So we make the deal, and it became Ozzy Osbourne only. And Ozzy was so pissed off that he had to go back to CBS because they disrespected him. They didn't want him. And he went there when he could have been on Capitol, and he really wanted to be on Capitol. So what happened then was very simple. He was so upset at the signing that he brought a dove in, and he spit the dove in his girl's lap. And the girl flips out, and they had photographers there. And so follow this. So all of a sudden, there was a picture, and I get a letter from the head of CBS West Coast to my New York office, where I'm now living, telling me that this is unbelievable, I will have nothing to do with this, and we are going to get together to drop Ozzy. Now what happened, well, Ozzy being the Blizzard of Oz. Now 2 things happened. This record started selling. They were printing copies. And so the Blizzard of Oz started selling. They had 2 albums. It was not an expensive deal. They ended up sending pictures with the girl's face covered, and it called Lunch with Oz. And that's how they started promoting it. At the same time, Sharon ends up in the middle of this for whatever reason, and I could go through it, but it's too long. And she falls in love with Ozzy, and Ozzy's the only guy signed to the contract. I really did a disservice to history, because I didn't believe one person would pull a stunt like this. But in this case, the one person that pulled the stunt wasn't Ozzy, it was Sharon. Sharon took total control. And the rest is history. She ended up having a falling out with her father because he was cheating on her mother, or who knows what the real reason is. And in my book, I wrote the story of her because of the lesson I learned. What I knew may not have been truth, but we all live in a circle, and we must understand, on our circle, we can't see behind us. Only our partner can see behind us. And on our circle, it's a circle. So you can see 90 degrees. You can't see 110 degrees. And man's got to understand that we are a circle. There is no beginning, there is no end. Every story is part of another story. It's a much bigger picture. And again, I'm not new age, it's important. It's love. We're all here to learn, to discover, and to learn how to live and negotiate love without hate, without fear. And you need to accept what created that love. And what happened was, that love went bye-bye. All of a sudden, Ozzy's the artist, this person gets fired, that person gets fired, Randy Rhoads dies in a plane crash, and it's, why was he on an airplane? What was he doing? And all these questions abounded, and it just got nuts. I wanted nothing to do with that. But then he